So today we'll be getting into a few stories with Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, the Retribution star that was rushed to the hospital, Billie Kay, and more. Let's start things off with the great news for Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have been together for a few years now. They were engaged in August of 2019. They welcomed their first child late last year, and it appears that they were just recently married. The story went out after Seth Rollins took to his Instagram story to share a picture of Becky Lynch and the caption of, "Seems like a fine day to finally get married." So no one really knew what exactly he meant at first. Was he teasing it? Did it happen already? No one really knew at first. But then WWE came out and released an official statement congratulating Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins on the marriage. WWE also related to Seth Rollins' Instagram story and said that hopefully more wedding day pictures are on the way. So that's true as well. Seth Rollins gave us that reveal about them getting married this week, but it looks like we'll have to wait a bit before we can see any wedding day pictures. But congratulations to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins for this amazing news. Very scary incident happened this week on NXT that sent one former Retribution member right to the hospital. This former member, of course, being Mercedes Martinez. During a moment in the match with Xia Li, Mercedes ended up taking all of Li's kicks, and it instantly knocked Mercedes out. Mercedes collapsed to the floor instantly. Some fans who weren't really aware of what happened at the time thought that Mercedes was just selling the move in epic fashion, but that wasn't the case. The selling of the move looked so real because it was real. The kick connected and instantly took Mercedes' lights out. The match was legitimately stopped and referee threw up the X. WWE never fakes the referee throwing up the X signal. The X signal is strictly used for real instances where a match cannot go on as originally planned because of someone actually getting hurt. So you throw up that signal to the back and everyone knows that someone is seriously and legitimately hurt. So that's what happened on this week's NXT episode and what had so many fans worried. Reports claim that Mercedes Martinez was examined backstage and was later rushed to the hospital for extra testing. There's no word or update yet on Mercedes Martinez's condition, but updates should start to come out soon here in the coming days. There's been a lot of WWE releases over the last month, and it's such a heartbreaking time because it's never a good thing to see someone lose their job, their career, and their passion, especially out of nowhere, unexpectedly. But that was unfortunately the case for several talent and other behind-the-scenes employees. There's been plenty of shocking releases recently, but nothing really more surprising than the former WWE superstars Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. One second they were on WWE television and even part of WrestleMania this year, but the next second they were released from the company. Billie Kay, known as Jessica McKay, recently appeared on Oral Sessions and really broke down what those days were like after her unexpected WWE release. She had this to say, "I was in the house. I didn't leave my house for like 3 weeks. I was just doing nothing. So it was just going out the house, going for a walk with my puppy, and talking to my friends and family. Because after it happened, I called Cass and I was like, I can't talk to anyone. My friends and family are calling me and I'm not answering on purpose. Because I felt ashamed. I felt like I let everyone down. Everyone sacrificed so much for me to get here. And it was just over. It took me a long time to talk to everyone. Cass was the only one. I hate to say it, but I'm so glad we got released together because our journey has been together this whole time. But if one of us had got released and one of us hadn't, that would have been 10 times worse. So I'm glad that we can go through this together and really support each other through this time. There's other issues for Cassie and Jessica, and that's the fact that they technically can't work yet in the country. Cassie explained it by saying this on Oral Sessions. "We're so excited. We have all this freedom and so many ideas, but pump the brakes because we can't do any of it." Jessica then jumped in and added, "People are like, what are you going to do now?" Well, nothing, because I can't legally work in the country. And people think that you apply for the green card and it comes in the mail. So that's another added conflict for the former tag team champions. They're also waiting to have legal documentation to work in the States as well. But getting back to what they had to say, you can definitely see the hard times that these releases can put someone through. You had Jessica not leaving the house for several weeks and not answering any phone calls because of that embarrassment and how she felt like she let everyone down. So it's really heartbreaking for them and for all of these release superstars. Unless you personally request your release, you do have to feel a bit shocked and going through all of these emotions. But with individuals as talented as Jessica and Cassie, you know this isn't the end. Expect to see them both bounce back in major ways. A very interesting stat was brought up into the light this week, and that was the fact that Roman Reigns is undefeated in 2021 and has won all of his matches. So that's definitely a big stat and deserves some attention. Roman Reigns truly lives up to his word and everything else that he claims to be. He says he's the greatest, he's on top of the WWE, and with a stat like that being undefeated for the whole year so far, how can you really argue against him? A lot of fans say, well, he cheats a lot to win. And yes, that is true, but we've really been seeing a different Roman in recent months. There's a really good comparison picture out there that showed that babyface Roman Reigns easily took care of Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Triple H, and more without breaking a sweat. But heel Roman Reigns always needed Jey to help him, even with the smallest of opponents. And that was true. For the back half of 2020 and early 2021, Roman Reigns' victories all mostly came from assists from Jey. But when you look at the last few months, the last time Jey truly got involved in a title match was WrestleMania. Ever since WrestleMania, Roman Reigns has been back to his babyface self in terms of in-ring performance. He's just walking through people like he used to with no assistance at all. So for everyone who says he always cheats, take a close look at his last few matches. Surprisingly, all clean wins for this monster heel tyrant champion. He took out Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and Rey Mysterio all in recent months cleanly with no help at all. So that definitely deserves some acknowledgement. The whole narrative of Jey getting involved in every title match was getting a bit repetitive. So it was nice for them to mix things up with some clean wins. But now, everyone is complaining again that there's no point to Roman's matches because he always wins. So as usual, you can't please all wrestling fans. There's always something they have to say or complain about. A lot of people are also discussing the fact that Roman is suffering from a lack of credible contenders. And that's a normal thing. The reign is now basically a year old. So he's definitely ran through the entire SmackDown locker room. But the great thing is that the WWE draft should be coming up here in a matter of months. And that will really shake things up and potentially give Roman some fresh new credible contenders. Is Roman losing the title anytime soon? Well, you know how things are. Plans can be changed overnight, but it appears like he'll be keeping it likely into next year. He has this feud with Edge, Cena possibly at SummerSlam, and a confrontation with The Rock is rumored for November at Survivor Series as well. So Roman's title reign still has a lot of big things possibly on the horizon, so we're not at the finish line just yet. But if he does go through superstars like The Rock, John Cena, and more during this reign, there's going to be a point where you can really start having a discussion about this being possibly one of the greatest world title runs in history. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.